The race is tight and getting tighter. Clinton has a 4-point national lead among likely voters, according to an NBC News Wall Street Journal poll out on Sunday. And our CBS News Battleground Tracker shows a tied race in 2 of the key states that will decide this election. In Florida, both candidates are getting 45% support from likely voters, and Donald Trump is leading by 1 point in Ohio, which is within our poll's margin of error. Both campaigns spent Sunday crisscrossing the country, making their final case to battleground state voters. Here are the highlights, starting with Clinton.
This election is about much more than the 2 candidates. Our names may be on the ballot, but make no mistake, everything you care about, everything I care about and I've worked for is at stake. This election is about doing everything we can to stop the movement to destroy President Obama's legacy.
I know there's a lot of frustration and even anger in this election season. I see it, I hear it. Sometimes, I'm the subject of it. I get it. But anger is not a plan. Anger is not going to get us new jobs with rising incomes that will create a strong, thriving middle class. I believe that we're going to grow this economy. We're going to grow it from the middle out and the bottom up, not the top down. That is what my opponent offers.
Clinton did not mention the FBI decision at any of her events, but Donald Trump did.
Hillary Clinton is the most corrupt person ever to seek the office of the presidency of the United States. The investigations into her crimes will go on for a long, long time. The rank-and-file special agents at the FBI won't let her get away with her terrible crimes, including the deletion of 33,000 emails after receiving a congressional subpoena. They forget about all of this. Right now, she is being protected by a rigged system. It's a totally rigged system. I've been saying it for a long time. You can't review 650,000 new emails in 8 days. You can't do it, folks. Hillary Clinton is guilty. She knows it. The FBI knows it. The people know it. And now it's up to the American people to deliver justice at the ballot box on November 8th.
That was Donald Trump speaking in Sterling Heights, Michigan. Now, at most Trump rallies, reporters are required to stay in the back of the hall, separated from supporters. But at this speech, Major Garrett and his crew were allowed to roam through the crowd.
The one thing that the Trump campaign has fervently believed in is that its crowds are larger, they're more enthusiastic, and they're going to show up at the polls come Election Day. Well, if this rally in suburban Detroit is any indication whatsoever about what Trump's prospects are in the state of Michigan, they appear to be very good. I'm going to have David go to the left now, go up and look at the crowd this way, because it runs in every single direction here, all the way around. When we arrived here about 30 minutes ago, this crowd was waiting for us. Trump has kept them energized and excited throughout his remarks tonight, and it's that kind of mobilization that you see at these rallies over and over again. And we saw it yesterday, we saw it in the first 2 stops today, we've got 2 more stops tonight, Pittsburgh and Virginia. The crowds are enormous. They're not the only indicator in a presidential election, but in this one, when the Trump campaign is betting so much on enthusiasm, it could be important. Now to your question about the FBI, I guarantee you no one here is talking about that. They're talking about everything else that Donald Trump has identified in the course of this election. And the great question for the whole FBI development issue for Hillary and for Trump, does it discount itself? Did it discount itself for Hillary a week ago when people said in the Hillary Clinton campaign, people have already factored that in? Have these Trump supporters already factored it in? We don't know. What I can tell you, Vlad, here at this venue is a crowd as large as it could possibly be. And it was put together briefly here in Michigan. These stops were added at the last minute. The Trump campaign believes Michigan is suddenly competitive, and if it is, and Michigan goes for Trump on election night, it is. I don't work there, okay? So calm down. It could be important, not only for the electoral vote map, but for Trump's prospects and the entire election. Glad.
Major, yeah, I mean, it's actually really interesting to see this humongous crowd. And Donald Trump has said many, many times when he's standing there at the podium that the cameras don't show the enthusiasm of his crowds. And I'm glad that you're showing our viewers just how massive this crowd is. And you've been seeing that over the last couple of days, right?
Exactly, and there's a reason we don't often show the crowds is because we're in a pen, and we have to keep our camera on Trump. If the Trump campaign would put a side platform, what we call a cuts camera platform in our business, we'd always show the crowd. They never allow that, so it's one of those things we constantly go back and forth about. But tonight they let us roam, and we're going to roam, and we're going to show you everybody here that we can get in camera range, because this is a sight to behold. It's unlike anything I've ever seen on a Sunday night before an election, at least for a Republican candidate. And everywhere I've traveled the last couple of days, people say, I'm not a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I'm an independent, I'm somebody who's come to politics for the first time in 15, 20 years. And if those people do show up, and they're part of that 1 or 2% that pollsters aren't measuring, the Trump campaign will have been proven right, that it can win this election because people aren't being counted that are going to show up and going to be there for Trump. Like I said, crowds don't tell you everything in a presidential campaign. Sometimes they can be deceptive. But venue after venue after venue after venue, we see enormous crowds, enormous enthusiasm, and if that translates at the ballot box, this will be an interesting night on Tuesday, to be sure.
And Major, last question. I'm curious. What did the campaign say about why their calculus for Michigan changed? What made them sense that there was an opportunity there?
So the Trump campaign always believed the upper Midwest was territory ready-made for its message. Very skeptical of free trade, wanting to renegotiate existing trade pacts and be very hostile to the ones on the books or on the table to be ratified. And a strong military, changing Washington. They felt the upper Midwest really was both demographically and ideologically well suited for that, but it didn't really come together. It wasn't coming together in Wisconsin, it wasn't coming together here in Michigan, but in the last week and a half or so, it has. Their own internal polling data within Trump Tower has told them these races, these states have gotten tighter much more rapidly than they expected. But there's also some other leveling truth to the polling data that the Trump campaign has seen. They don't have breakout numbers anywhere. They have competitive numbers in many places. So that's why Trump is making so many stops. He doesn't know which state's going to break through, but he's got to go to as many of them as he possibly can, looking for that place to knock a hole in that sort of blue electoral vote wall that Democrats have had for many presidential elections. Michigan has been part of it. Pennsylvania, part of it. Ohio bounced back and forth, but Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan have been a part of it for 5 or 6 presidential elections at least. So they're looking to punch through wherever they can. Actually, Trump is here because he decided not to go to Wisconsin because he thought Michigan was more competitive. And before we were here, where were we? Minnesota, which nobody thought was on anyone's map. Trump and his campaign believe it's at least competitive, worth a shot. There are almost, 15,000 people at a tarmac rally organized in the last 24 hours. That gives you an idea how hungry Minnesota Trump supporters were to see the Republican nominee. Again, it is a multi-layered strategy, trying to find wherever breakout position they can, but at no place can you add up all those states and say it is a Trump victory. He's got to fight for it every step of the way, and rallies like this are part of that process.
All right, Major Garrett showing us the very large, very, very large and enthusiastic crowds in Sterling Heights, Michigan. Major, we thank you.